Welcome to a place of wellness and healing for both your body and mind. Get ready to live a happy, healthy, energized life that totally rocks. You're listening to Straight Talking Natural Health, a no BS podcast for busy people who want to ditch the fatigue, find balance, and feel great, with your host and naturopath, Jules Galloway. Today's guests have made a bit of a name for themselves on both TikTok and Instagram. In fact, it was my husband who alerted me to the Insta account. He was like, you have to check out this bloke's videos. They're insane. You see, the account is called Site Inspection, and they go around inspecting brand new buildings for defects and shonky workmanship. And it's scary, some of the stuff they find, particularly when it comes to defects in waterproofing and drainage that lead to toxic black mold growth that cause all sorts of health issues. Mold growth in brand new buildings. I was immediately fascinated, not only by the visual content of them pulling apart these brand new homes and showing the infestations and damage that occurred, but also in the quirky commentary, because it's kind of hilarious and frightening all at the same time. Once you go and check out this Instagram account, you'll know what I mean. Given that I see a lot of clients with mold illness, some who've been exposed in brand new builds, I thought who better to get on the podcast to teach us more. So please welcome to the show, Ed and Zeher from Site Inspections. Woo!
Hey, how are you? Hi there. Thank you for the invite.
All right, we'll do a very quick roll call so we know whose voice is who. Ed?
Yes, hello. This is me, Ed. I'm part of the Site Inspections team here in Melbourne.
And Zeher?
This is unbelievable. That's me. Oh, yeah.
Excellent. All right, so I'm so glad I've got both of you on here today. Tell me a little bit about how this whole thing came about. Like, how did you become the guys who go and assess for shonky building work?
Look, I guess it stems from, both of us have been in the building game for a good number of years. We sort of found ourselves in building through different ways. We've come in through, with university qualifications and things like that. So we've got, solid backgrounds in business and management and, different technical disciplines. And, Z's a registered builder, maintains his builder registration as well. And one of the things that we sort of called out, very early on in the piece is that, hey, no two homes are ever built the same, right? So, and this is really one of the challenges I think that, builders across the country need to address is that, how do they maintain a degree of quality and uniformity across their sites and the build process? And that's really where Site Inspections comes in, right? Is that, we can do these checks. We can go in there looking for compliance, ensuring that different elements of the construction are built to code and and conform to the different Australian standards. And that's really where our fundamentals are driven from. And with all that and our different backgrounds, we bring in different tool sets. We've got a software application on our phones to quickly go through jobs and log different defects and non-compliance issues. And we streamline that whole process of inspection.
And Zeher, tell me a bit about your background, because you're the kid with all the really cool toys, right?
Yeah, that's right. So the development of my vest and all that stuff came over the years because, I've got a degree in computer engineering, registered building practitioner, and a bunch of other certifications and all that. And the thing is, as an engineering background, you always want to try to kind of find a better way to do things, all the time. And because of my background, when I started doing building, and we branched off to doing inspections after that, we combined my, computer engineering and electrical engineering background with my building experience. And I started, learning how to use all those tools, the moisture meters, the thermal cameras, etc. And then basically it started with a couple of tools in my pocket, going on ladders, going into roof cavity. I'm started to think like, how can I make this whole building inspection process more efficient and and to capture everything at the same time. I've got, for example, 3 different torches. One torch that goes, for about 40, 50 meters straight like a laser, a wide beam one, a UV light, a torch. I've got different type of torches in the same pocket, pocket knives, etc. So everything is on my body that I need to do an inspection. So that's how I've kind of stood out from the rest of the building inspectors out there. I don't just come in with spirit level and a tape measure, and take a couple of pictures. We want to find out, what the hell's going on with this house, and try to make the client happy and resolve the problem.
Yeah, and I know that you can go and buy like a moisture meter for like $50-$60 at Bunnings, but that's not what you're using, right?
Yeah, that's right. Like my thermal camera is like $12,000. The moisture meter is about $5,000. I've got also a DFT, which is a dry film thickness sonar device, which measures the thickness of the waterproofing membrane. Instead of ripping out a piece of waterproofing and measuring it with a ruler, as per some inspectors do, we do a non-invasive testing with this device. Like that device alone is like $6,000. So I invest a lot of money into the tools to get a better outcome for the client.
That's incredible. So I feel like you're the boys that people call when they've already had 2 or 3 other people look at their home and they didn't get any answers.
Yeah, exactly right. Yep.
Yeah. You're like the mold detectives.
Yeah, pretty much. And Z left out the particle meter as well. So we've also got a particle meter so we can sort of measure particles inside the home and do a comparison to the number of particles outside the home. So you can quickly see whether the internals can be problematic to the occupants of that home living there.
Do you mean like being able to measure like mold particles in the air in real time without having it? Are you kidding?
Yeah, exactly right. So it does a reading within 1 minute. It captures all the particles from 0.01 microns to around I think about 5 or 6. And it gives us a range of particles in the air within that period. And then we compare it to outside air, and we say, look, you got to get some ventilation, you got to open up your windows, or and give them some advice like that. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, get a HEPA filter inside, and all those sorts of different things.
That's incredible. I didn't even know that sort of stuff, like these sorts of tools existed. I thought in order to diagnose a problem with mold in the house, you had to like take an air sample, send it off to a lab, wait 2 weeks for the response from the lab. You're kidding. This is awesome.
Well, that's right. So we also do sometimes work with another fellow who actually does have a lab and does do all that sort of work as well, because sometimes it is important to identify the species and the types. I mean, in general, any mold is bad mold. So obviously, if a homeowner does see some, it's always good to remove it straight away. Clearly, if it comes back again, that's when you really need to identify, well, what's really behind the cause of this. And that's where people like ourselves really come into play, to identify how is moisture getting into the home, into that particular area, to keep causing this mold to reoccur.
Yeah, right. So what are some of the defects in a home that can cause this mold growth to keep coming back, especially in a new building?
Look, I mean, a lot of our current construction codes basically necessitate that a home is a fairly airtight chamber, right? You don't want heat escaping, you don't want your air conditioning escaping out into the open air, right? Because at the end of the day, it'll cost you more to heat and cool your home. So the whole idea is eliminate drafts, right? So there's different parts of the construction code that dictate how the house is put together, how you seal around doors, how you seal around windows, and other sorts of openings like that. There's benefits to that, but then there's also the downside that if you're entrapping humidity inside the home as well. So you need to look at other ways on how do you ventilate the space that the person's living in. And clearly sometimes people forget that they do need to actually open windows, have some degree of air exchange, freshen the air inside that living space so they can remove moisture at the same time and reduce, the environment can make it suitable for mold to grow. So, picture somebody taking, a 10-minute hot steamy shower versus somebody who might only take it for 1 minute, right? So there's a different amount of steam and moisture, put into the air. Yes, there are extractor fans and all these sorts of things that should remove it, outside of the structure. But as we often see in our inspections, a number of builders forget to actually connect the ducting to the external world. It goes back into the roof space and pops out somewhere else and causes problems.
Oh God, what could possibly go wrong?
Well, that's it. Exactly right. And that's why we differentiate ourselves from a lot of other inspectors by the tools, by the process, and by our methodologies, right? We've been called in sometimes as second, third, or fourth, and sometimes even the sixth line of inspectors to come and sort something out. You'd be surprised how many inspectors don't go into ceiling in spaces, don't look here, don't look there, and also don't really understand how the built structure is put together.
I'm not sure if you've seen one of my videos that I think it was a recent video where the actual manhole was blocked by the builder.
I saw that one. They put like beams across it or something, you were like, it's a bit sus.
Something going on there, and normally inspector lifts the manhole up, and if it's blocked like that, they won't even go in. But I pushed it aside, tried, spent about 5 minutes trying to open that up. I go, man, something dodgy is going on here. I'm going to go in and record it. And then there was an oven pan.
Oh my God. Jesus.
Oh my God.
Getting ready for his hot chicken dinner.
Oh my God. I mean, we're laughing, but it wouldn't be funny if you were the owner. Oh, jeez. These poor owners, seriously, you must have.
And that's the sad truth of it all. But to an owner, they might say, for argument's sake, pop their head up through there and see this and really not think twice about it, right? But I mean, we go up there because of our building background and experience. We say, well, that's not really the right thing, just report.
Chicken pan in your ceiling cavity, not really going to, pass code, right?
And then I'm like, I'm definitely going to make a video.
You're going to be Insta famous, chicken pan. The other one I really liked, Zeher, was the one where someone had put a deliberate hole in the shower so that the water drained out of the shower via this hole, which is kind of the exact thing you're meant to not have in a shower.
Yeah, exactly right. And sometimes it's a good idea for shower. They say the regulations for that, the installation manual says that you have to do that, like a small little weep hole to let the water from behind the tiles to come out. But if there's a breach of the waterproofing, if you haven't tied the waterproofing to that shower base and you have a shower, it's going to basically exit the shower area, which is what happened to that one. To that home, and then that home is built by a volume builder, and they're still saying, no, we believe it's the right thing to do. And man, I've got documented evidence, the videos out there. Have a look what's going on, and it's amazing.
Oh God, it's horrifying. You were saying just before we started recording about roof leaks as well, and you see a lot of roof leaks.
Yeah, it's like roof leaks. If I go on a roof, I'm guaranteed going to find a breach of the Australian standards, and that which leads to water ingress into the home. And it's very slow. So most of the roof leaks that I find are progressive over time. So it will take, a couple of months for it to reach inside the home, sits on the insulation soaks it up, and then basically the homeowners turn the heaters on and it dries off. So it takes maybe a year or even a couple of years for it to appear, and mold will start to develop over time. So that's why when I go and do an inspection, I ask the client, how long has it been there for? When it rains, or is it when you turn the aircon on, the leak happens? So we try to get a background story of what's going on before going anywhere. And then, after we've got the background, we basically start our analysis. I go on the roof, we do a non-invasive check by using our tools. And then if we, last resort, if we can't find anything, we ask the client, can we do a destructive investigation because we believe this area has the problem? And like 99% of the time, we're correct. I'll go for 99.9.
Yeah.
That's incredible. It's scary and incredible. Why do these defects happen? Is it shonky builders? Is it shonky tradies? Is it supply chain issues, which means not being able to get the right materials, so people just making shit up? Or is the whole system just broken?
Look, it's basically all of the above, virtually. It's a progression of errors, I suppose, right? So, I mean, as an example, roof plumbers, certify their own jobs, right? So they do the installation, they issue the builder with a certificate of compliance, and the builder thinks, okay, complies. I've been given a certificate of compliance. Does the builder go up there and check things? Well, I don't think so. That's why.
Not if there's a beam there and then they don't see the chicken pan.
Well, that's the other thing. Exactly. That's right. Maybe they tried to go and inspect it and just gave up. They got trapped by their own trap. But yeah, so this is just one of those issues. And look, there are challenges in the building industry at the moment. Don't get me wrong. Material issues, trade issues, labour issues. Look, at the end of the day, it's all an excuse. I mean, really, people should be proud enough of their own work to do it properly in the first place. And my personal opinion on the matter is, and this is a personal opinion, is that every trade should be registered and should issue their own certificates of compliance and contain their own insurance against the work that they do. And that's going to be the only way to clean up the industry, in my opinion, right? Everybody's got to be responsible for the component of the bill that they've delivered for the builder. Because unfortunately, the builder is at the end of the chain. And sometimes they should be more diligent. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to give them a get out of jail card. But sometimes they don't know themselves. And we're trying to market our services to builders to do different staged inspections beyond the statutory inspections that need to be carried out in Victoria and in other states, but we just focus in Victoria. So it's on top of that. So they actually know that they're handing over a compliant build to their end customer at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Well, that would be a perfect world, wouldn't it? Actually stopping these things from happening before they progress to becoming problematic.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be nice. How far off that are we?
It's a bit of a nirvana, but
yeah, right.
It needs tighter regulation. Ultimately, the regulations have to be tightened in a lot of these different areas to actually make it uniform across the different trades. Like, for example, waterproofing and doing waterproofing membranes. The waterproofer can issue their own certificate of compliance.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, my work's good, tick.
Well, correct. All they can get, for argument's sake, their next door neighbour to issue a certificate of compliance, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not regulated. Yeah, it's not a regulated industry.
They give it to the builder, and the builder's like, all right, thank you for the certificate. He passes that on to the building surveyor, and the building surveyor is like, all right, thank you for the waterproofing certificate. It complies. And then I go along, like yesterday, I was at a volume builder's site, one of their bigger developments, and the waterproofing was not compliant. They had to rip it all off, and they've tiled, so they have to remove tiles and remove the waterproofing, and that's for like 5 bathrooms, and the tiling costs around $110 a square meter just for the tile alone. So there's massive loss because it didn't bring us in before.
Jeez.
It just shows that anybody can go out there and start doing waterproofing, start painting the wall up, and issue a paper. They're saying, oh, yeah, it's compliant. Thank you very much. It's all about who's liable for it. And then the builder cops it at the end because, man, you've given me a certificate that's compliant and it's not. And now I'm liable. The builder's liable for it.
That's crazy. Honestly, like there's so many holes and flaws in this system right now.
Correct. Exactly. There's a lot of holes, and people can take advantage of it that way, which unfortunately then ends up, in the lap of the homeowner.
Yeah, and then the homeowner, for example, like that home that we've inspected for the single mum with two kids, like she hasn't got money to go out there and basically, get an inspection report. The neighbor actually, like we thought it was like a scam. Yeah, we got an email saying that, hey man, look, like massive email about the single mum with two kids and all that. There's mold everywhere. It's a rental home, and she's got no money to get an inspection. I'm gonna pay for it. And we're like, oh, no worries, here's the invoice, pay for it. And then when I found that it was real, we refunded the money. And that was a Channel 9 news video that came along with me. Yeah. She's got no money to, get a report or get a lawyer, and it's a new build. It's a brand new build, and mold is everywhere in the home, And we actually, like, people are using our service now to get a better reach, or to expose a builder, or to expose poor workmanship, and it's helping them out. Like some of the clients that are calling us, they just want a video. They come and do a video, and I want to send it to the builder. And there was one particular client actually that got the video and actually posted it on their Google reviews. I swear to God, the builder said, please take the video down. I'll fix all the defects for you. And I said, man, come on, man. I spent a lot of time on the video.
Yeah. Oh, that is gold.
I actually took that video down. I don't know if you remember the video. It's the one with the statues. It was like, it looks like the owner has to join those guys waiting for the builder to come back. It was a video that I've taken down now on all social media, just so it can help the client,
Oh, God, the things you do, the things you have to do. So look, my husband follows you, and he said he heard that you'd ruffled some feathers in the industry. I can't imagine how, but you've ruffled feathers to the point of getting actual threats. Is this true?
Yes, yeah, it is. So, one homeowner got us to do a pre-purchase inspection. So we did a pre-purchase inspection. The home value was about $1.7 million, brand new home. There was major defects in the home, non-compliant waterproofing, non-compliant brickwork, etc. And she said, look, I don't want any trades to come in my home. I want to buy a brand new home like I'm buying a brand new car. I don't want problems. I don't want people to start fixing it. And then I said, all right, cool. Look, you have to get people to come in and rectify the waterproofing, because you're going to get leaks after a couple of months. And she goes, no, I don't want that. I go, look, there's going to be major works there, which in my opinion is destructive works is basically major works in our opinion when we do our report. So she basically got out of the contract. Builder lost his mind, because it was a builder's home.
Yeah.
Started calling me, private number, messages. And then I eventually answered the phone. I'm like, yeah, who's this? He's like, yeah, mate, look, you inspected one of my properties. You made me lose a sale. I'm like, mate, look, just relist it. It's not a big deal. I don't even know who you are, and he goes, look at the build. So I got the building contract later on, and I found out who the person was. He actually goes to me that if you inspect any of my homes again, I'm going to put you at the back of my boot.
You're kidding me.
I said, man, how do I know if it's your home? Like when we get a site, we go there, we don't even know who the builder is if it's a pre-purchase. So I went there and I just did a non-biased report, did my job and got out. And then this guy took it personal.
Does that worry you? Like, have you got families to consider in all of this? And like, do you ever, does that ever really concern you? Or do you think these people are just talk?
I reckon he was just talk. But the thing is, before we book a job in, we basically get their contact details. They pay for the report. There's a transaction going on. We've got enough, information about them, to know that these guys, are going to be monitored if something happens.
Yeah.
So
it really concerns me as well that one you referred to was like a $1.7 million home. So there's no guarantee if you pay more money that you're actually going to get a better job either, because I thought a lot of the places you go to are like those high volume, we won't name brand names, but you know, the ones where they give you your house and land package type scenario. But yeah, it seems that it's in all areas and at all price points.
It is,
Yeah.
unfortunately. It's ubiquitous throughout the industry, and you know, we inspected you know, a high-end townhouse in Richmond, you know, multi-million-dollar as well, and it was just filled with defects across all 4 levels. Right? And so many other of the builds that we've inspected too, with, you know, multi-million-dollar properties. In many cases, they've got the same common problems, right? Whether it's a, you know, a $200,000 simple, so-called cheap build versus a, you know, a building contract of $2.7 million, similar sorts of issues, you know.
Yeah. Can everything be fixed? Or have you ever seen anything that's so far gone that it's like you've basically gone, this is a knockdown?
Look, I mean, you can almost say yes to everything can be fixed, but it comes at a price, right? So then it's about the economics. You know, where do you call it quits? You know, trying to rectify something. And like, clearly, you know, if a timber frame's been exposed out to the weather and the elements for too long, it can't be saved, right? It does need to be brought down. You know, it'll have mold all over it. It'll have, you know, damp, you know, moisture damage throughout the frame structure. You know, we check all these. You know, again, we were out another job today where it was sort of semi-closed off, you know, to the elements. It wasn't completely closed off, but, you know, some parts of the frame were beyond saving, right? They would have to be removed and replaced. Other parts were okay, you know, so it's really a case-by-case basis.
So when you say if the timber frame is exposed to the elements for too long, like how long are we talking? Days, weeks, months?
Look, it's in the range of months, but it also depends on sometimes the different materials that are used, and also just how bad the weather has been. I mean, clearly, you know, Melbourne's been, you know, going through some fairly wet days, right?
I'm in southeast Queensland, brother.
Yours is about 20 times worse than ours.
Let me tell you a little thing about rain.
Yeah. And, I mean, straight away you'll end up with, you know, mold issues and things like that. Then it's about, you know, trying to determine, you know, how bad that is, and that's where we work with another, you know, PhD microbiologist who actually runs the lab and can do the testing to do some determinations around that, because it does reach a point where, you know, yeah, you can treat the frame and try and get it back to good. But, you know, yeah, you need to look at all these sorts of issues. And, you know, so clearly for frame, like some of the builders are going through hard times. If it's been open for 12 months, you know, it's a bad look, right? You know, the timber, not just mold, but itself will be deteriorating, and its structural integrity is in question. So then sometimes you need a structural engineer to assess it as well, right? So it's complex, you know. It's a matter of getting the right people to look at it before you decide to move forward.
Yeah, and if you have like a bathroom that's been leaking for a long time, you gotta, you know, you gotta remove the whole thing again. You gotta remove the tiles. You gotta remove the screed. If the substrate has been compromised, you gotta remove that and just start fresh. That's what you have to do. You can't do just a bit of silicon and patch up job. It's gonna happen again.
Yeah, and it doesn't take that long either. I know that I was in a new build a few years ago, and people a couple of doors, because we were in some townhouses, and the people a couple of doors down had a leak, and she swore she heard water dripping for 6 months, and she kept ringing her landlord, and her landlord kept saying, oh, it's just the way that the gutters are designed. When it rains, you'll hear a drip. And she kept saying, yes, but I hear dripping when it's not raining, like totally, like days where there's no rain at all. And they were like, oh, yeah, okay. And then 6 months later, the water started flowing out of her neighbour's bedroom from behind their bedroom, which backed onto the bathroom. And it turns out there'd been this really slow leak, like what you said before, like the slow leak that didn't get picked up because it wasn't causing any damage at first. But if we go off what my neighbour said about her hearing something dripping for 6 months, it was 6 months worth of damage, and they ended up having to cut bits out of the frame and replace part of the frame. And that's just from that one little leak.
Yep, exactly right. That's what you have to do.
Yeah, I mean, water's the worst, right? Because it impacts the structural integrity of the framing timber very quickly. And then if it keeps coming back, you've got the mold issue, continually gets reignited. I mean, sometimes the frame will dry out a little bit, mold goes to spores, next wet event, bang, the spores all explode again, and before you know it, mold's grown 100-fold in size, right, in terms of the impacted area. So this something similar happened in this multi-million-dollar townhouse in Richmond. But they had roofing issues, but they also had an issue in one of their bathrooms where the actual tap fixture behind the wall failed, right? And it was drip, 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 drip. And because the waterproofing in the bathroom was non-compliant in the way it had been put down, it actually leaked out through their walk-in robe out into the bedroom because this was just a continuous leak that just kept on going. And it was just a drip. Right? It's not as if it was a gushing, fire hydrant style leak. It was just a drip. And they hadn't even really moved into the house, right? So the plumber had pressure tested, ticked everything off, and this fixture's just behind the wall, drip, 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 and nobody heard anything, but the damage was evident throughout that bedroom, walk-in robe everywhere.
We had to take that video down as well because the builder had us booked. He called us Sunday around 7 o'clock at night. His lawyer called us. He's like, "You will hear from my high counsel." I said, "All right, man." And then if it wasn't for the owner, I wouldn't have taken it down. But the owner's like, "Mate, just take it down." And I'm like, "Man, all right."
Oh man, all these videos. Oh, so sad because they're so entertaining. Honestly, if you're listening to this podcast and you're wondering what we're talking about, like seriously, go and check it out because they're hilarious and scary all at the same time. And Zeher, your commentary is priceless. So
thank you.
So look, if someone is building a new home and they're listening to this, they've probably just gone not doing that anymore. But if someone is building a new home and they want to make sure that everything is done properly, like what can they do? What steps can someone take as a buyer to either prevent the defects from happening or spot the defects before they sign off, or at least like find the defects before it causes damage?
Yeah, look, so obviously through a new build process, I can't talk about every state in Australia, but I mean, here in Victoria, there's a number of, statutory inspections that must be conducted by a building surveyor as part of the building permit that's issued to do that build. Now, they're fairly structurally orientated, all those inspections, right, in pre-slab and slab and framing and things like that. Our inspections are quite different. We actually look for the things that actually go around the building site. The cladding, the masonry, the roofing, the plumbing, those sorts of areas that typically don't get inspected by a building surveyor because it's not necessary. It's not statutory. It's not a statutory obligation to do that. And that's really where doing some of these extra inspections become really quite paramount. And we're even doing those for a number of people who are using, or buying or getting a property built from the high-end range of some of the volume builders, right? Because at the end of the day, we find that site supervision seems to be lacking, right? Either the site supervisors have too many jobs to manage, or don't spend enough time on each job, or whichever. But whatever it is, they're just not being supervised enough. So, picking up waterproofing defects before somebody makes a progress payment to a builder for a build becomes paramount. And the other way to try and protect yourself is when you're going through those sorts of contracts with a builder is to insert some clauses to ensure that my progress payments will be subject to an independent building, inspection by the right sort of building inspector. I mean, there's a lot of shonky ones out there as well.
Yeah.
For example, today we shot a video for this volume builder that has gone into liquidation. Yeah, but the thing is, this video, I'm really looking forward to it. What happened is that the supervisor, who's a family friend of the homeowners, issued them with a lockup progress payment, a lockup stage. Yeah, and the guy was overseas, so he sent them a couple of pictures. Here's some brickwork, some plaster. Pay us the lockup stage. And then they paid the lockup stage payment, which was like 35% of the contract price. And then they went bust. And guess what? The lockup stage is not complete.
Oh, no surprises there.
So they scammed them. So that's why having the building inspector going out there and seeing if the progress stage is authentic and if it's real. All right, look, it looks all good. Yep, pay these guys. So it's just like a kind of like a little insurance, throughout the build to someone that's got your back.
Yeah. And it honestly sounds like you really can't afford not to do these things, especially these days, because it just seems like there's being so many corners cut, so many shonky operators and so much shonky workmanship. I think we need to kind of take charge as home buyers.
Yeah. I mean, look, let's face it. I mean, somebody's home will be the biggest investment they probably make in their entire lifetime, right?
Yeah. And it's devastating when something goes wrong, like absolutely gut-wrenchingly devastating. Or even like that single mum that you were talking about, like that landlord, that was like their investment as well. Like they're probably paying that off. So there's so many people involved.
Yeah, and unfortunately, they only started helping her when the video went viral. The real estate agent straight away. Oh, we saw a video. We're going to help you now.
Oh, you're picking up the phone now, are you? Oh dear, you have to manage a lot of phone calls. It sounds like.
Well, we do, but that's part of our job as well. I mean, often we'll issue a report, for example, and then there's a lot of questions because our clients often don't understand the building process, right? Which is fair enough. I mean, most people don't, and we all learn, right? And we all need to start somewhere. So, we do spend a bit of time either walking them through what we find on site, or we answer calls after that. Once they've had a chance to review the report and they've got an opportunity to ask questions, because at the end of the day, the other thing that we're trying to do is to actually lift the level of knowledge and education around this. And that's the educational side of the funny videos, right? On TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and all that sort of stuff, right? But we actually show the clauses. We try and explain things to people.
And it's all for free. Like those Australian standards, I'm actually, including in my videos, the extracts, it actually cost money. Like each Australian standard costs us around like $300, 400 bucks. And I'm actually putting those extracts there and saying, mate, here it is. And everybody's learning. The builders are learning, tilers are learning, or different trades are learning. And everybody's benefiting from it. And also they're having a laugh,
Yeah. Well, that's it. I think you're the first people to take a really dry subject and make it entertaining. Yeah. Do you do say if I was buying a home in Victoria, which I'm not, but do you do inspections for prospective buyers as well?
Come on, we're the best state in Australia. Why wouldn't you want to buy a home here?
I'm from Melbourne originally, but I'm up in Queensland now. I defected.
Look, we do. Our reports are really quite different, and we find that from a price positioning point of view, we're quite expensive. I mean, most pre-purchase inspections are around the $500 mark, right?
Even cheaper.
Or cheaper. And you get, honestly, I've seen those people in open houses. You're lucky if they spend 5 or 10 minutes walking around the house, and an open house is for 30 minutes. And they're in and out, and they probably just say, this is a beautiful home. We actually go in ceiling spaces. We do like a full-blown inspection, and it's not everybody's cup of tea. But like Z said, there was that home valued at 1.7 mil, right, that the buyer pulled out of because we identified some serious issues of non-compliance. And that person, the prospective buyer, didn't want to do rectification work, was sick of doing odd jobs, handyman tasks, those sorts of things. They wanted a home that they could move into, no issues, and live happily ever after, right? That's the level of our inspection services.
Yeah, that's it. Well, if I ever do buy anything in Victoria, I know who to call now, that's for sure. I won't be calling anyone else.
On the house.
But I have a feeling you're going to have a long waiting list soon, though. Do you have any plans for expansion? Are you going to train up other team members? Like, have you ever thought about sort of moving into other states, or is that even possible?
Look, they're all things in the broader plan and scheme of things. One of the first things we're starting to look at is commercializing our app, because we've invested a lot of time in developing an application and the workflows within the application to actually methodically step us through the inspection process. And in there, we've captured a lot of the details of the different Australian standards and components of that, so that we make our inspections faster, right, and more productive. We can do more in a day ourselves. So that's certainly something that we're looking to take to market and offer potentially either to other inspectors, but also to site supervisors for volume builders, right? Yeah. Because I think that's one area where we could almost, talking about root cause analysis and things like that, where we could, stop it at its source. If we can lift, the capabilities of site supervisors and those sorts of guys and girls, then we can actually start to improve the process much earlier on in the piece. And look, the other problem about expanding interstate is we've got to find people that we trust and we know we can work with, and who actually want to work with our methodologies, right? We've tried a few people and there's resistance, right? We're talking about a change in mindset here, and not everybody can accommodate that.
Yeah, but honestly, I think this is the change that needs to happen, and I think it's going to happen frustratingly slowly. But it's people like you that are forcing it to head in the right direction.
Yeah, we hope so. So, I mean, and that's certainly, one of the things around the videos is to try and sort of do that little bit of extra education. I mean, we've had comments on those different channels from, roofing plumbers, sparkies, things like that. Oh, I didn't know that I had to do this and do that and do the other. Thanks. I actually learned something from your video. And then we've got detractors as well, occasionally, every now and again. But some of these people, they're actually appreciative. They recognise, oh no, I've been doing it wrong, right? And somebody's shown them and brought up the Australian standard at the same time in the video, which is irrefutable proof that this is how you should be doing it.
Yeah, and they even comment on our channel saying, mate, I've been doing, for example, roofing for 20 years, and I didn't know I had to turn down the valley gutters, for example. And he's like, far out, thanks for telling me. And you know what? You've got the extract there. So that's why I've been putting a lot of extracts, because people don't believe it.
Oh, God. Seriously. And I was thinking as well, like if those standards cost $300-400 to purchase, there's going to be people out there like tradies who've never seen them, because why would you buy them?
Right. That's 100% true. Yep.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I went through and studied a Cert 4 in building and construction, right? We used some basic standards around timber framing guide and things like that. And the minute people had to buy a book, right, it was almost like sacrilegious to them. I've got textbook shelves full of them, right? But I mean, for some people, it's just something that they don't do. And this is what I mean. It's about, doing the sort of work that we do is not everybody's cup of tea, right? And we're not just walking in for 10 minutes and walking out again. We probably spend, I mean, sometimes we do inspections jointly. We're out in one today doing an apartment block where, we were literally, I think, the 5th or the 6th inspector that they brought in to solve an issue.
And you spent like $9,000 on inspections.
Well, more than that. It was more than that. But And in 1.5 hours, we didn't believe the other reports we'd read. They shared with us the reports. We didn't go around trying to badmouth anybody, but quietly Z and I, okay, thanks for sharing the reports. We made no further commentary around it. We went in, we did what we normally do, the normal way that we do it. We gave him our initial thoughts. I don't think he really believed us initially. Yeah. We then proved the thoughts by just, a quick test, and he goes, "Oh, okay, you're right. Why didn't the other guys pick this up?" Well, I don't know. Maybe they just don't do it the right way, right? So, this is the whole thing around it. It's around methodology, workflows, the practices, and the right mindset.
Yeah, and that's it. And that mindset of looking for the root cause, like that I think that's where you are really like a powerful team, because you've got the scientific analysis and the engineering skills and all that stuff that you bring to the table. It would be really hard to replicate you interstate. It really would.
It's true. I mean, but having said that, right? I mean, if somebody does pop their head up and they seem to be made of the right stuff, I mean, it's a bit like going to the moon, right? In the movie, that sort of thing. We can bring them on as an astronaut,
Yep, that's
through the training and away we go. But it's about following the methodologies, the process, the mindset, and doing it a particular way,
Yeah, we go above and beyond, like. That's how you have to do it. I mean, I've got one client at the moment where that builder, I've done a video about it. Have you seen this video where I said, I put an extract from an email where the builder said, the builder and the homeowner have to maintain a strong and healthy relationship. And let's just be honest. Get married. Oh my God, I have to do that video. Well, I got banned from this job site just because I'm too picky.
Oh no. So look, I don't think you're ever going to be short of material for your account, your social media accounts. But it sounds like you need to pump out double the amount of videos because you're forced to take half of them down.
Yeah.
Oh dear. All right, Ed and Zeher, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. Your very first wellness podcast, and I hope it's not your last, because I really feel like you've got so much to share that crosses over with what we do here in the wellness industry. Yeah. Look, if people haven't come across you online yet, where can they find you and connect with you online on both social media and on the good old interwebs?
Well, on TikTok, for example, just search up site inspections. On YouTube as well, site inspections. On Facebook as well, Instagram. We're on all platforms at the moment, but not Twitter. That's what I reckon. Yeah, and we've got a website as well, www.siteinspections.com.au. Yep.
Awesome. All right. Well, I can't wait to see some more videos come out, and they're horrifying, but I can't look away. And they're like the building equivalent of pimple popper videos. Really, they really are. You're just waiting to see the carnage. But yeah, look, honestly, thank you so much for the good work you're doing, and I wish you every success. And let's hope that one day you don't have to do this job.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. We've got to work ourselves out of the job and into retirement.
That's it. That's what I'm doing too. Like if we can get all the people healthy, then I'm out of a job too. And then we can all go and have a cocktail on an island somewhere.
Yeah. Good idea.
I hope you enjoyed listening to Straight Talking Natural Health. If you liked what you heard, make sure you hit subscribe so that you're the first to know when new episodes drop. In the meantime, head over to my website at julesgalloway.com. There's all kinds of resources available there if you're keen to get started to live your best, healthiest, most energized life. When I'm not podcasting, I'm seeing clients one-on-one via Zoom, so why not book in and let's work together? I love helping my clients to heal from fatigue, anxiety, inflammation, gut problems, and chronic health issues, to name just a few. All of this and more is available right now over at julesgalloway.com. That's all from me for the time being. I look forward to diving in with you again in the next episode. Bye for now.